Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of The Human Protocol, the podcast about staying human while building the future with AI. Technology is rewriting our world. This is the conversation about what we keep and what we change. We talk about AI, leadership, and humanity, not in theory, but in how it shapes our everyday lives. Every week, we explore the intersection of technology, leadership, and purpose, and how values, meaning, and impact endure in a world rewritten by code. And you may ask, why now? Companies write algorithms, governments write laws. Someone has to write the human story. And this is what this space is and will be about. Today, we're going to have a very interesting conversation, and I'm very, very excited about our guest today and the conversations that we're going to talk about. Today's episode, it's called Learn AI or Be Led by It. Why AI literacy matters for everyone. And I'm very excited that I'm joined today by Tiffany Whitener, which she has spent 3 decades evolving alongside technology. She began as a newspaper designer, editor, influencing how readers engage with content. As the world moved to digital, so did she, shaping website and enterprise software for Fortune 500 companies and global brands across a variety of industries. With a background in UX design and architecture, content strategy, and front end development, she brings a unique perspective to solving complex problems for users. Now, a UX designer manager at Cox Automotive, Tiffany leads a UX team and champions AI adoption. She also founded AI at Tiffany's, building AI assistants and educating others on responsible, human centered AI. Welcome, Tiffany. I'm very excited to have you on the show.
Yeah, I'm excited to be here today.
Perfect. I appreciate your time. And to kick things off, I would like to start with the questions that I asked every guest on the show. When we remove your title, your bio, your LinkedIn information, who is Tiffany's at its core?
Good question. I think I would describe myself as a problem solver. So I feel like my entire career, I've always been someone who likes to help people and I like to solve problems. So I think that's really why my entire career has kind of evolved the way that it has. I actually got into journalism just because I like to write and was a creative person. But at the core of it, when I look back at my career, it's always been solving a problem for a user. And it doesn't matter if that user was a reader of a newspaper or someone who's using a website or an application, or, now we're working with AI, but the entire time there's been a user at the core. And then there's always been problem solving because I'm always looking for how do we solve a problem for someone who's using any kind of product, no matter what the medium is.
That's awesome. And that's perfectly tied to the conversation that we're having today. Just so our people that are going to be watching the episode notes, the title of this episode is something that Tiffany really cares about and that she has been saying all along, which is AI literacy. It's important for everyone, not only those that are directly working in technology, but people from all walks of life. And that's why I think this topic and this conversation that we're going to have today, it's going to be so important for a lot of people that are going to be watching us on why, based on your trajectory and your experience and what you're seeing, it's extremely important for people to understand and start working with AI because that's really the future happening today.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I feel like, and it's interesting how I got into it because I really, when ChatGPT came on the scene, I thought, I'm gonna have to learn that. It's new technology. I'm used
Hmm.
to pivoting, and I thought, yeah, I got some years left. I'm gonna need to dive in. And I really was planning on just doing it to future proof my career. And then something funny happened. I started using it in the kitchen. I was trying to, yeah, I was, I considered myself of trying to force myself to use in my everyday life to get to know a little bit more about it. And so instead of looking up a recipe or checking something on Google when I was in the kitchen cooking, that I would go to ChatGPT. And so I was in the kitchen one day fixing cornbread and I ran out of cornmeal. And I realized that, oh man, and so my first instinct was, oh, let me find a cookbook and see if there's a different recipe. And I thought I'm gonna go to ChatGPT. And so I did that and asked for a substitution for cornmeal and it said I could use grits. And at the
Mm.
time, that was when, we weren't quite sure if ChatGPT was pulling from the internet or where was the data. So I checked Google, of course, to verify, and it explained that, yeah, you can use the consistency is similar. So you can use grits for cornmeal. So I asked for a recipe and it gave me that. And I thought, well, wait, I want to use the cornmeal I have. So give me a recipe for half cornmeal and half grits. And it gave me that. And for me, I was like, oh, wow, this is powerful. Never would have thought, in a few minutes, I could not only, I had a substitute for, the ingredient I didn't have, then I had a recipe and I actually made the cornbread with the grits. And so it actually turned out pretty good. My husband could tell there was a little difference. He was like, this is good, but there's a little something different here. I was like,
We can always do better. We can always do better, including AI.
yeah, I was like, "Hey, about that," so but that's really how I got, it really hooked into realizing it was powerful and I could use it in my everyday life.
I
Those are
appreciate I appreciate you telling this very personal story in a way that I think a lot of people will relate to it, right? Look at how something that was used just for trying to come up for a simple recipe
yeah,
has become this kind of transformative tool that you're using today on your everyday task and life, right? And it
yeah,
started at the kitchen.
mhm,
So that's very interesting. I really appreciate that personal touch on that story. Really.
and then
Yes.
yeah, and then it actually spiraled from there. I was, talking to my mom about it, just about what AI is and trying to explain it to her. And my parents are actually vegans. And so I was sort of
Mm,
spitballing in the chat GBT and I said, hey, you're a vegan. And I said, hey, give me a meal plan for 2 people, for a week. And so I kept iterating on the prompt. Oh, you're gonna need recipes. Oh, and she said, I'm gonna need ingredients. I'm like, yeah. And I kept just iterating about what she would need for 2 people as a vegan. And at the end, she's sitting there watching me. She goes, print that out, So she was really excited. So I later was talking to a friend about it and said, hey, I'm learning the tool. This is what I'm doing. I was telling my mom about it. And the person said, well, Tiffany, that's an app. And I was like, "What?" Because I thought, "No, I don't know if I'll need an app." Until they said, "Yeah, you should make an app, for
mm.
vegans who, need meal plans." So then I thought, well,
There you go.
let me think about that. So, but then I
Yes.
thought, well, I'm gonna create one that is for everyone because maybe it's more marketable. So I actually created a custom GPT called Meal Genie Planner. And it's in the GPT store, but it does meal plans, recipes, nutritional information, everything except for go and shop for you, right? And so, that would kind of be the next evolution of an agent or something that would connect to Instacart or something like that. But
And
that's how I kind of got into
and
getting.
all that without having to be a developer or a software engineer. Isn't that amazing?
Yeah, yeah. That's what I
Right?
really loved about it because when I was learning it, I actually thought about, do I need to go learn Python? Do I need to go back to my development roots? It wasn't really something I wanted to do, but I looked into that, but then realized there are a lot of no code, low code and no code tools that you can use and how ChatGPT is leveling the playing field and you can use it to tell you how to create certain things. And that's really how I kind of I really started using it in my personal life in that way. And then, I'm sure a lot of people went through the whole phase of photos, right?
Mm.
I spent a whole weekend creating 100 photos, learning. That's how I learned how to prompt. So just from there, for me, it was, well, what else can I use it for? And I started using it for finding restaurants and,
Mm.
comparing products. If I was buying a computer, not too long ago, and I thought, well, let me compare the types of computers that I'm looking for, and that saved research for me on the products. Because 'cause I'm a big, like, proponent of doing research on the things I purchase, and then started using it for work as well. But for me, it's been a evolution of how do I use it in my personal life, and I don't think I would have gotten as good at it as I have if I wasn't using it for something that I really enjoy, something that really.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So,
Something that you feel kind of, oh, I'm excited about that. Let me
yeah.
try to find a little bit more and a little bit more and a little bit more brought
Yeah.
you here.
Yeah.
And that's usually how things start. We need to feel compelled. We need to feel excited about learning something.
Yeah.
And once you start finding the benefits of what you're learning,
Yeah.
representing in a way that you feel connected to it,
Mhm.
the rest, it doesn't feel like learning. You go through it because you want to continue to improve and get better.
That's exactly what happened. And then the helper in me, I wanted to help others. So I started, educating others on it and posting on social media and, realized that that was resonating with people because, people were in the same boat I was. They were trying to learn, didn't know where to start. And I took some classes as well, but I found that for me, getting in there and learning it and doing it and educating others helped me to continue to grow as well.
Yeah, yep, that's awesome. That's part of the reason why I want to pass on this message to as many people as they can see us. It's like this is what AI literacy means. You need to start somewhere.
Yeah.
And you usually start at a place that you probably don't know a lot, but you need to find something that you are passionate about, something that you are excited about finding out. And step by step, little by little, start building that knowledge,
Yeah.
and with practice things get better.
Yeah.
But AI is here, right, Tiffany?
Yeah.
And it's not going away,
Right.
and this is why your story is so important for people watching us, because everyone needs to get on board and everybody should start learning AI.
Yeah, yeah. I think it's so important and it's I guess for me, it seemed to me it was a natural shift just because I've gone through different technological shifts from print to digital and so for me it was sort of, well, this is just the next shift. But then
Hmm.
also what I try and explain to people is that even though I know there's a lot of fear out there in the community about, is it going to take jobs? Is it going to replace people? I have a different take on that though. The way I look at it is the technology can't replace a human because you as a human always have a value that you're bringing. Now it
Mm,
may, change your role. Absolutely. Roles are going to change. We're going to be operating differently. Absolutely. But for me, I don't look at that as replacing me as a human. I use the AI to elevate my skills. I'm still me at the core. So being
right.
able to use AI is no different to me than using the internet, right? Like we've used tools to help us throughout our lives. But I think one of the things I try and get people to understand is that if they don't learn the technology, then there's a couple challenges with that, right? We can't lead AI if we don't learn it. And if we
Yep.
don't learn it, we're gonna get left behind, right? Because you're you're gonna have to find another job if you don't learn the AI because things are going to change. So when companies realize the skills they need, if you're a person who isn't learning AI, then you're going to have a hard time getting a job. But then the other thing is, it's like if you do learn it and get on board, then when the jobs change, you're going to be easier able to move into a new role because you have the skills. So I think we should look at it as a half glass full instead of half glass empty, and look at, yeah, things are different. Maybe we don't know exactly what's going to happen. But if we learn, we're going to be able to make things a lot easier for ourselves.
Yeah, and we've have had you and I this conversation in the past, and I love it every time you say it. And I would like to repeat it for those back in the room. Like, what happens if you don't learn AI? AI will lead you, right?
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I always
Absolutely.
got to learn AI so you can lead AI. Because if we think
Yes.
about it, like we want to be at the forefront to be able to shape it. And we
Yeah.
want to be able to help make it responsible. And we want to be able to help with those things. So if we're concerned about a lot of the things that we're all concerned about AI, we can't even be at the table to have a seat to help if we're refusing not to throw our hat in the ring, right? It's like you got to get in the ring, right? So that you
Yes.
can help.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You know, concerns are valid.
Yeah.
I share those concerns myself. I know you do share those concerns yourself as well.
Yeah.
But it's also a mindset shift. Every time you are in front of a challenge, if you treat it as an opportunity, you will see
Yeah.
opportunities and not problems. Like anything in your personal life, in your professional life, Problems will always be there, challenges will always be there, but everything is how you approach them and what is your attitude and the energy where you take on those. And I would like to find in challenges a way for us to be better.
Yeah.
And I think one of the benefits on AI is really enhancing our creativity in a way that we did not have before. Is a
Yeah.
tool and a technology that is allowing everyone to have a voice, to
Yeah.
think, to use logical reason, to
Yeah.
create things in a way that we did not have before.
Yeah.
So it's all about facing this in a way that this is coming, this is here, is
Yeah.
not going away,
Yeah.
and it is important. And this is the message that you and I we keep saying everywhere we go. We all need to learn. We all need to learn to live with AI.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's required. It will be required. There's no other way around it.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and I hope more and more people.
It.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and I hope more and more people embrace it because I think when I think about it, it's when I was in the newspaper industry, I remember the newspaper industry, and I hate to say this, but it's just true. I lived through it. I don't think the industry as an industry shifted soon enough. I can embrace the technology of the internet soon enough as a whole. And so, I remember me, that's one of the reasons why I made the shift to digital. Like I would be sitting there witnessing a conversation between, editors talking about, well, should we post this story online or, we don't want to scoop the paper. And me sitting there thinking, people, one team. And so I knew I was like, hey, like I'm not going to retire as a print designer. I'm going to need to get some digital skills. And at the time, I didn't even really know what that meant, but I knew that I was going to retire as a print designer. I need to get some digital skills. And for me, I thought, oh, I'm just going to move over to, the digital side of the paper. And that's what I'm going to do. But, ended up, I rolled in a degree and got a degree in web design, interactive media. Didn't know I'd have to learn how to code. I thought learning how to design for the web was going to be, just a learning. I just thought, yeah, I'm going to do this digitally, but I didn't know I was going to have to learn how to code and be a front end developer. And that was probably the hardest thing I ever had to do, but it was the best thing I ever did for my career. Never had a problem finding a job, and that was at a time where there were a lot of things going on, just in general. And so I made that shift from print to digital and survived the dot-com boom. So for me, it's kind of like this is very similar. So I know it's maybe easy for me to say it because I've lived through it,
Because you've
but it
been through exactly.
yeah. But if I could just tell anyone, like, that's a perfect example of what we're in now. Had I not done that, who knows how things would have changed, right? And, not knocking anyone who didn't make that choice, right? Because it's a choice. There's nothing wrong with those who didn't make that choice. But for me, that was for what I wanted to do, that was the choice that was best for me. But it was good for me because it opened my whole world. Like back then, user experience wasn't a separate discipline, like it was a part of, web design and, because websites, they need
Hmm.
user experience. And but then I started learning about, okay, I need to work on enterprise software products. And, so my entire world changed because I was willing to continue to grow and learn and continue to learn, to keep getting the next job. And so that's really what has brought me to where I am now. And so when I look over the past, really like I'm dating myself, but when I look over 30 years, like it really has just been me. And I never looked at it as I need to learn this to get this job. I was looking at it as, hey, I want to continue to learn because I'm growing with what I'm, with what the next, like it was to learn to get the next job. That was a part of it. But it wasn't like I said, I want to be a developer or I wanna be a UX designer. That wasn't even really what it was. It was like I'm pivoting to learn the skills because the market I'm in is changing. I'm going to learn these skills so I can keep myself marketable and keep help the companies that I'm working for. And so that's really, but it was really me trying to I'm a problem solver. I'm helping the users of the products that I'm building for. And so that transformation is why I ended up in the different roles. But at the end of the day, when I look at it, I've been doing user experience my entire career. Like it's just back then in the newspaper industry, our users were readers, right? We
Right.
still tested the paper, we still with use
You adjusted and
yeah,
adapted to the new time.
yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. But the process of designing a product for a user that process has still been the same. It's just different medium. We have different technology. We have different software programs, and some of the methods have changed along the way, but it's been the same kind of theme of how do we solve the problem for a user. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's what I think, Tiffany, for those that are going to be watching us and listening to this, it's the power of human transformation and human reinvention. And sometimes we don't test that enough.
Yeah.
We don't know what we are capable of
Yeah.
until we really go through transformation periods,
Yeah.
and we come up at the other end of it with new skills and new desires to continue to do better.
Yeah.
And when I look at your history from newspaper, a printed newspaper to digital, UX digital, which is totally different, then AI, you have embraced all these new technologies and all these challenges, and you have said, I'm going to learn it because this is where we are heading.
Yeah.
So it's really how we human beings will continue to reinvent ourselves in this new future with AI,
Yeah.
which is what this type of conversation will be about.
Yeah.
We need to reinvent ourselves. Business as usual will be a thing of the past. We really need to get on board and try to develop those new skills and whatever is needed in this new future with AI.
Yeah. And I would say also the other thing is like people also have a choice if they don't want to get on board, that's okay too. But like think about what's your plan, right? Like if you're
Yes.
not willing to get on board, that's cool. But think about well, what are you gonna do if that's not your thing? So I feel like we're in control just as humans, just for us to remember that somebody has to tell the robots what to do, right? So
Mm,
instead of saying the robots are going to take our job, like let's think about how am I going to learn the skills so I can coexist with what's happening or take control of what do I want to do that doesn't have anything to do with technology. There's nothing wrong with that either. That's a choice.
yes.
But like making the choice instead of just not dealing with it at all, I think is what I would encourage people to do.
Yes, yes, absolutely. You nailed it right there. It's always going to be our choice,
Yes.
but not making a choice one way or the other, it's really not going to add any value to whatever the future will hold, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So think about all these, right? Start looking at options,
Mhm.
and like Tiffany was saying at the beginning, try to find something that you like, that you're passionate about, and little by little start playing more and more with this new technology. And
Yeah.
there's so many ways to
Yeah.
start to get started with AI. And
Yeah.
I wanted to ask you, Tiffany, what would be your recommendations for those that are in the sidelines, still
Yeah.
not using AI, any tool or ChatGPT or Gemini, anything regarding to AI,
Yeah.
because they think it's too technical, because they think it's only for tech related people.
Yeah.
How would someone would get started with AI? What would be your recommendation?
Yeah, I would say the first thing is just sign up for, a free account. Like I started with ChatGPT, just sign up for I started with a free account and really just start playing around with it and find out what it is that you would like for it to help you with. Like for some people it's photos. It could be you want it to help you like with recipes. Maybe you want,
Hmm.
a list of recipes for meal planning or maybe you're going to purchase a car and you wanted to compare some cars. So I think everyone has their own sort of niche of something that maybe they need information on. And I think the other thing would be think about something that you would normally ask Google or maybe you would normally do research on and then use ChatGPT or Claude or whichever your LLM of choice is. For me, I started with ChatGPT. That's usually what I use, but they could use any kind of LLM. I would say start there. Just start and I would also say there's no really right or wrong way to do it. Like you can write in and put your prompt in there however you want. And then over time, you're going to find as you practice your knack for how you dive into it. But I always tell people when you're prompting, you want to tell it what you want and you want to tell it how you want it. So if I'm looking for, restaurants in the area for two people for dinner, I'm going to tell it that. I'm going to tell it the type of cuisine I want, the location, how far I want it to be away from my house. You could even tell it like, what budget you want to stay in. And you can even tell it, do you want it in a table format? Or,
Mm,
so just being specific, but really if people just start, it doesn't even have to be that specific, just be something very simple. So I would say just start is the the main thing. And practice. Start and practice.
Yeah, I can agree more. It just gets started, right?
Yeah.
Think about it's like almost having a personal assistant
Yeah.
dedicated to you 24/7.
Yeah.
Of course, there should be limits. It's not for everything that you should count on it.
Yeah.
It's not your doctor. It's for that type of thing. You continue to rely on your on the professionals for that. But think about a tool that will find the best answers for the questions that you have,
Yeah.
right?
But I will
Instead of
yeah.
Mhm.
I will say that I did wanna touch on something you mentioned about because you're right, it's not like a doctor or a lawyer, but you could use that to help you with information that you could ask your doctor or lawyer. For example, we definitely, yeah, wanna be getting information from the professionals, but there may be some information you may need to research, and you could get ask the GPT some questions. That levels the playing field for you. Like, if you're concerned about something you think is going on and you go and ask a question, you could go to your doctor and say, "Hey, I have did this research and what about this?" That at least levels the playing field as far as information you may not have had prior. So I've done that
Right,
before, right? As far as
right.
at least having options.
Yeah.
It also it just helps you it gives you plans. Like, you can use it for travel planning. You're
It's very good for travel planning. I loved it.
yeah, being able to say 2 people or 4 people are going to this city and we're gonna be there 5 days. Can you give recommendations on where to stay, where to eat, what to do,
Yes.
for a week? I mean, it will do that in a matter of seconds, which is amazing.
It's amazing to help you with your budget,
Yeah.
okay?
Yeah.
If you're not good at math, AI will help you. It
Yeah.
will put it everything together, will put a template, it will put it's just amazing what it does. So in a way, as you can see, you can find very valuable activities and tasks that this thing can help you with.
Yeah.
It's just a matter of you getting started. You heard about Tiffany and how she got started with the recipe, looking and searching for a recipe.
Yeah.
So it's just make that first step, jump into it, and start learning.
Yeah.
Because definitely will be needed.
Yeah. And also for business, like, I didn't wanna leave that out. Like, once you kinda learn it for personal, you're gonna start thinking about the ways you can use it for business. I know everyone's field is different, but same
Mhm.
situation, you can use it for, different you can use it for different things that you're trying to work on for your business as well, at work, corporate and personal. But I will say just something to keep in mind for that is that, most corporate companies are gonna have some regulated tools that you can use because you want to make sure you're not uploading proprietary data. So most companies are going to have some enterprise software that you can use that's, dedicated for your company. So it's going to be pulling from data at your company. So I would encourage people to check with your corporate company and what tools are approved as well when you're
Yeah.
using AI at work.
And I'm glad that you jump into that topic, or that was going to be my next question, which is data privacy
Yeah.
and ethics around AI, especially in businesses.
Hmm.
And I think it's also very important that we talk about the limitations when you're working with AI, and how careful you also need to be when handling sensitive information,
Yeah.
especially in companies or organizations that are very, very keen into making sure that data privacy is extremely well kept and doesn't go to the internet. So, how do you see this challenge of data privacy
Yeah.
in the future with AI?
Yeah, that's a good question. Yeah, I think that at work it's a little I think in personal it's a little bit you have to be even more careful because it's kind of you're on your personal computer and it's really easy to, you have to be careful and think about, okay, what do you want to put in the LLM? I think at work it's a little bit easier to be even more careful because usually at work there are special tools that you're told you need to use. And then a lot of the companies have, RAG systems. It's basically like an LLM that's for the company. When you ask it a question, it's usually searching the company data. So and it's in a system that's protected usually for the company, right? And so employees know that. And a lot of times we have, like, I know it, the company I work for, we have approved tools that we use at work for the company. So we know that, we're not supposed to be like, if we're using a tool, for in our personal life to learn, nothing wrong with that. But we know that not supposed to be using those tools for work and, not uploading any proprietary data. We have systems for that. So I think that what's interesting is I think a lot of the LLMs are also creating products to make sure they're able to support the enterprise companies because they know it's a thing. They want that business and they want to be able to help support the companies. So I think that helps with that data privacy. I think that we do need to think about because we think about prompt engineering, and then there's also something called context engineering. Where you can upload
Mm-hmm.
something you've
Right.
written or done, and you want the AI to help elevate that. So I think we have to be very careful about that you don't want to put any of your work stuff in a non-work, LLM.
Yes.
So
Yes, totally on board on that. And I think we're gonna see more and more companies like OpenAI and others investing more and kind of revamping how their approach to privacy because they understand this is a challenge. And of course, they would like to continue to offer this as a for businesses,
yeah,
even for governments. I was reading the other day, I believe the government got in contract with OpenAI to use ChatGPT as part of the government. Which it tells me that the part and the challenge and the concerns around data privacy, especially on the government side, are something that probably OpenAI had been working a lot on it.
yeah,
Because if the government approves to use it, I'm sure confidentiality and
yeah,
data information it's a concern, and that means that they are working in the back end to put some guide rails, right, and safeguards around that.
yeah, yeah. That's something that I really would love to get involved with is
Mhm.
responsible
Yeah.
AI. How do we make it more ethical, more inclusive? Like that's a huge area I would really love to get in because and I feel like it touches on. That's why we need more diverse people learning it. Like
Mm,
everyone needs to learn it. But if you don't have diverse voices in terms of age and gender and race and just all types of diversity, then that impacts how the LLMs are built and
absolutely.
impacts other things, right? Because the LLMs are only as powerful as the data that's put in it. So if the data is biased, then the output we're getting is biased. And so also if we want it to be more responsible, then we need to have everyone working on it that's going to ask the right questions and program it to ask the right questions to be a little bit more, to help it to be a little bit more responsible. So I would love to get into how to help with responsible AI.
Yeah, I also think that's such an important topic. And I believe not only companies, but some of the challenges that they're running through is because countries have different laws and different expectations. And I also was reading the other day that there are some movement around building global standards for data privacy and responsible AI,
Yeah,
which I think it should be kind of, a step in the right direction because the more we try to kind of standardize what data privacy means within AI, I think the more that we all going to benefit because
yeah,
there are a lot of countries that they put more efforts and emphasis on keeping our data privacy. Like for example, Europe, they have very strict laws around data privacy, even more than the US.
yeah,
So I'm sure there's a lot that we're going to learn as we move forward on what type of safeguards will be put
yeah.
in place on this topic.
Yeah, it's interesting and it's I will tell you one of the things when it comes to making sure that AI is responsible and ethical. One of the things that I looked into when I first started learning ChatGPT, I asked it to give me a photo of what it thought a, you know, a creative looked like. What do you think a design manager looked like? What do you think a doctor looks like? Like any type of profession. Like what do you think? What photo would you give of somebody
Hmm.
in X profession, whatever the profession is? And what I got back, really, it was alarming. Like it was alarming, but it wasn't alarming, right? And you can imagine it wasn't giving diverse, outputs, for these questions. And so I very quickly learned that, okay, this data is based off of what society, whatever data it's getting from the internet, and whatever biases that may be there, then it's pulling that in. And So what I started doing is if I was asking for a photo of a design team or or a UX manager, anything, I would be specific. Give me a photo of a diverse group of people for a design team, right? I want a photo and I want a diverse group. Like I would be very specific as far as what I was looking for. But one of the things that alarmed me is once I really started using AI every day and I felt that it knew me and this, that, the other, and I had uploaded photos before it even should know what I look like. I asked it to give me a photo of what it thought I looked like. And you would
Mm.
not believe the photo that it gave me back. It gave me a photo of a white guy with a guitar. And I was so alarmed. I'm like, what? And so I really challenged it. I was like, wait a minute. I pushed back. I said, tell me, where did you get this data from? I said, we talk every day. You have all this information about me. And it said, yeah, Tiffany, you're a leader in AI and UX, and you're an African American woman, and you're doing this and doing that. I said, okay, but where did this photo come from? Because you just gave me a photo that has nothing to do with all the data you have on me. And I want to know where this came from. And it was honest. It said, yeah, it wasn't based off of you. It's based off of trends from the internet. So
Mm.
it took whatever it knew about me and assumed that what it knew about me couldn't be someone
Right.
who looked like me. Like it had to
Right.
be, a different race and a different gender. And so I asked it, well, how do I help you with that? Because you as AI need to be responsible and ethical in your output. So how do I help you with that? And then it gave me like, a plan of some groups and different, organizations to reach out to. But that to me alarmed me is that, I felt like I got to thinking, well, maybe if we had more people with diverse backgrounds who were helping to program the AI, could one of them thought about how do we program this to ask questions if someone asks for a photo?
Right.
Or, like there should be some sort of the AI should have asked me if it wasn't sure, right? It
Yeah.
should have just assumed.
Not just drop it like it was a done deal, right? Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So it's just very interesting.
It's and it makes me think because also part of what makes these LLMs so powerful, it depends on where the data is coming from.
Yes. Yeah.
And that's something that you don't hear a lot people talking about it, but that's a
Yeah.
business. There are companies that they sell the data to these other AI companies. And the better the data is,
Hmm.
the better the LLM can become. Because at the end of the day, it's all about the data that
Yeah.
they get from
Yeah.
us that we are entering and from what the LLM learns about the data that they have access to.
Yeah.
So it's really the source where the data is coming from that it's going to play a huge factor on how good the answers will be for what we're prompting them.
Yeah. And that's why
Yeah.
it's important for people to use, like, if you're not using it, we're not even training it to make sure it's not biased, right? It's like we all play a part in, like, I challenge it. When it gives me wrong information, I correct it. I'm like, well, that's not right.
Yeah.
Being able to make sure it knows that there are different, people of different races and different genders and different ages and all the roles, and all the jobs. And so, it can't just assume what someone looks like in any profession, right?
Yeah. Don't mess up with Tiffany because she's going to give you feedback right away. Okay.
I'm gonna get the AI straight.
You know, you have to get it right. You have to get it right because that's what we're here for.
Yeah, and you can just imagine for me as a minority leader, like that kind of stuff, right? It's like society doesn't always see minorities in certain roles. So
Hmm.
for me, for the AI to be doing that, it's like, wow, like
Yeah.
another place where there's inequity in diversity and inclusion. And so that I think that's a huge part of AI and ethics.
Yep, yep. I agree, Tiffany. I agree. When you look at where we are today, what are those skills? And when you look at everything that we do today with AI, based on your experience, of course, of using different AIs for different purposes, what are those skills that you recommend people to look at it if they want to get the best out of working with AI? Like
Yeah,
prompting and different other skills.
yeah,
What would you tell people
yeah.
that they should start focusing on and learning because of the benefits associated with it?
Yeah, I would say prompting is really the number one skill set because if you know how to prompt, then that means you know how to talk to the AI. It's for generative AI, right? Because there's different, I think
Right.
that's another call it is that there's different types of AI, but right now, generative AI is really kind of what we're all talking about.
Right.
So, yeah, I would say the prompting is so important because once you learn how to prompt, you're going to be able to use all the different AI capabilities that calls for prompting. So, for example, you can go into the different ALMs and you write a prompt to tell the AI what you need. But there's also, let's say you're using, for example, in user experience, we use a software product called Figma. It's like where
Mhm.
we design, our user experiences, where Figma has capabilities in it, the AI capabilities, but that will help, that will create a design. Well, you got to write a prompt, right? So that sort of having that skill set of knowing how to write a prompt, knowing how to be specific, how to iterate on that prompt. It's for any tool you're using at your job. Like I remember one company I worked at, we were using Jira, and Jira has a lot of good AI capabilities. But again, you got to write a prompt, right? Like you got to be able to write a prompt, and sometimes it's a matter of hitting a button and it will do something for you with the capability. But it goes back to me, I feel like that prompting and knowing how to iterate on that prompt and knowing when to change it, and then also knowing what are the different LLMs I may use because there may be a different LLM that you may get a different answer. So another trick is to you could put the same prompt in different LLMs and see what answer you get, or put a different prompt in or ask the AI, what prompt should I be using, and put that in the LLM. So just using the AI to teach you about the AI is also a good way to do it. But yeah, the prompting I would say is the number one skill. Now, if you're a person who wants to build LLMs and all of that, then you would probably need to know Python and some of
Right.
those languages.
Let
That's
it get
that's not
into
my
more a little and dive in more into the
yeah.
technical side,
Yeah,
right?
like more computer science, you need to dive into that. But yeah, for what we're talking about for using it for work and personal, if you're like Copilot is really good at using it, AI capabilities
Mhm.
for emails,
Right?
you know, and they have capabilities.
Summaries.
Yeah,
I
it can
I
do
love it for
summaries.
summaries as
Yeah,
well. They do a
yeah,
good
but
job.
yeah, I think the prompting is a good skill to have.
Yeah, I agree. It's and what we call prompting or prompt engineering, it's
Yeah,
usually put it in a way for some people that are not familiar with it to better understand. Think about the better you prompt, the better you tell the AI or LLM what you want, the better result or more closer to what you expect you will get. Think about a time when you met a friend and then you are talking to another friend about that time that you met that friend but you don't recall the name, and then you're trying to describe how it looks, how it sounds, and everything. Think about all these details that are going to be extremely important for you to build that prompt, and so AI can better understand what you like, what
yeah,
you don't like,
yeah,
the way you like things being produced to you, what type of information. So the prompting is really crucial to learn it and to get better on it.
yeah,
Don't think like you're going to put a word and you're going to get the best out of it.
right.
You also need to put effort. And some
Yeah,
people, they just want AI to know what they want without even putting any effort. We still need effort
yeah,
because AI learns with every prompt,
yeah.
with
And then
every conversation.
yeah, and then we also, to your point, we learn from the AI what information to put in to get the best result, right? Like it's just like with anything with practice. So there are times that I'll write a real quick prompt that's not even, really didn't think much about it. But then there are times I'm like, hey, you know what? I'm going to be very specific because I know the format. I know that I need.
It goes both ways, right? It
Yeah,
goes both ways.
yeah, it's kinda like having a conversation, right? You get as much as you put in as you get back, so,
There you
it's
go.
like if you want something good back, you gotta put something good in. So that's kind of
You want a good relationship with AI, you're
yeah,
gonna have to put in as well.
exactly, yeah. And it's okay
Probably
to challenge it. It's okay to push back and, challenge it,
yes. Yes, yes.
and some
Don't
people
ask
some people name their AI, right? They give it a little name and, so just
and don't take things for granted. Don't take
right.
everything like it's a done deal. Like, no,
Yeah,
please check.
Absolutely.
especially if you're working with, maybe contracts, maybe with things that
Yeah.
are more important. Make sure that you review the response, because
Right.
sometimes the response is not accurate.
Right.
This is subject to error,
Yeah.
and a lot of people don't think about it. It's just copy and paste. No, copy and paste doesn't work
Right.
like this. Make sure that you spend time reviewing, right, Tiffany? It's
Yeah.
extremely important.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up because I think that's where the responsible piece comes in for us as humans, and that we need to remember that we're the human in the center of all this, and it's still a
Hmm.
robot. So we
Yeah,
need to remember. I'm glad you brought that up. We need to remember to use it as a tool. Like it's not a replacement for us, but it's a tool. We need to check it. You use it to elevate you, but yeah, you need to check it and make sure. And then not just taking something and lifting it and putting it somewhere else, right? Like
absolutely.
you're gonna need to edit some of this. There's gonna be times where there's parts of it you're gonna need and parts that you're not. And I think that's the key because when I hear people say, "Oh, it's gonna keep me from critically thinking and all of that," not if you're using it as a tool, right? Now, if you're just
Hmm.
going in and asking it to give you whatever and you're putting it
Then
on
you're not
an email
thinking,
thing, yeah,
right?
you're not, but
You're
that
not doing yourself a favor.
right, yeah, that's
Start with us, right?
right, yeah. So it's like you gotta be able to number 1, know what you're gonna use the tool for. Remember it's a tool.
Hmm.
Learn what you're gonna use it for, and it doesn't have to be used for everything. And then, yes, you need to be verifying this information and making sure. But that's a part of being responsible humans as well, right? And I think it goes back to what I mentioned earlier about context engineering instead of just prompt engineering. Like it's not about just putting something in to get an answer, but what are you adding that you need elevated, right? Like you may have something that you're crafting and you may be asking for, how do I elevate this? But again, like make sure you're not putting your work stuff in the, non-work tools, but there's a way to make sure you're using it as a tool to elevate instead of just using it to get information. So that there's that piece as well.
Yeah, you made me think right now, and something that I always tell my teams and even my friends: don't sacrifice quality
Yeah.
for speed.
Right.
It's not worth it. It's never gonna be worth it.
Yeah.
And this conversation made me remember that I'm always telling everyone quality should come first.
Yeah.
And if the speeds improve to a place where quality is still there, it's a win-win.
Yeah.
If not, focus on the quality first.
Yeah.
Okay. And that always tell that to my team. For me, it's crucial that we keep quality at the center of it,
Yeah.
even when it takes a little bit more time. And
Yeah.
for this conversation we're having, is what we want to tell people is be responsible.
Right.
It's not only about copy and paste.
Right.
This is a tool.
Exactly.
It will have errors on the responses that provides to you. That's where we come, and that's why we still the humans in this conversation.
Yeah. And I think if people look at it in the same way that we use the internet, we know not to believe everything we see on the internet, right? Like to trust but verify, right? And you're using that as a tool. It's not something that is replacing you. So AI is no different. How do you use it as a tool instead of,
Where where
replacement?
where I see the challenge, Tiffany, is with the internet. You used to write the questions that you have and then search
Yeah.
for the answers and articles, and then you have to pick whatever you wanted to pick.
Yeah.
With AI, it's giving you an answer right away.
Yeah.
And then a lot of people are taking that answer for granted for what it is. And there's, instead of, okay, is this accurate?
Right.
Is there any other possibility?
Yeah.
And try to get to the bottom of things. And
Yeah.
that's where I think people need to be careful that it's even though you're getting an answer, like it is almost an assistant for you, make sure that you check and you until you're comfortable with the quality of what you're getting.
Yeah, yeah. It's like we still have to be responsible humans and just responsible. And a lot of times, depending on what you're searching, it's giving you the sources back. So double check those sources the way you normally would and see if you agree with. And even if what you have is even something you're using, there are times I know at work, there are times I've used AI and I'm like, I'm spending more time trying to get this to fix what I really need when this isn't speeding it up. So I think you need also sometimes know how far you can take AI that is a help. And if it's not a help, then maybe you don't use that for whatever task you're working on. And sometimes there are things that you can use it for a portion of what you're working on, and then you take it
Hmm.
the rest of the way. Like, for example, in user experience, we're able to use software programs that will give us a UI, a wireframe. And it's not something we're going to take straight to code yet, but it's something that will help us brainstorm. It will help give us more ideas. We're able to use it for rapid prototyping. Still need the human in the loop, to create, but we're able to use that as a help to help with some of that, using it as a tool to help elevate. So I think we just need to keep remembering that.
Yeah, keep remembering that, people. It is our responsibility. We own that responsibility to ourselves.
Like,
And that will continue to play a huge factor as we move forward.
yeah.
Great stuff, Tiffany. We are approaching the last segment of our episode today. And basically, it's a question, it's one question, but four different groups. Okay.
Okay.
And I would like to start with the first one, which is what would be your advice for those people still not using AI in any shape or form today?
Wow. Advice for how to use it or advice for why they should use it?
It's in general, the
In
why
general.
you think it's important for
Yeah.
them to use it based on how you see where we are today
Yeah.
and where we're heading in the future.
Feel like it's going to be a game changer and needed for our personal and our professional lives. Like,
Hmm.
work wise, of course, we're going to need it because you're going to need skills to be, just to continue working in whatever industry, most industries. Because if you think about it, back in the day, if you didn't have a website, you couldn't have a business. Like,
Right.
technically, right? Like, it's hard to, I know me personally, I don't really trust working with someone if you don't have a website and I don't know you. Like,
Hmm.
the first thing I'm gonna do is look up your website, right? You need a digital presence. So I think that's part of it. The first thing for work, just to be able to, and to just be, to find a job and to be searchable, you're gonna need those skills. I would say if you think about it, even for personal, just like the iPhone and all kinds of things, global technology changed our world, the AI is as well. So there's going to be things that change. There's been articles out there talking about, will there no longer be UIs out there, right? Like, that's, don't know what that would look like, but just think about, our things are going to change for us. So for us to be able to function in this world, we're going to need to be able to use the technology personally and professionally. So getting on board is just going to help you to be aware and to be able to figure out how you use it as a tool in your everyday life.
Awesome. Great advice. Thank you, Tiffany. Then another piece of advice for tech leaders really working on developing AIs of the futures. What would Tiffany tell them?
Yeah. First of all, I would say that AI adoption comes from the top. So all of the companies, for all the leaders, I would say that it has to come from the top. I feel very fortunate. The company I work for now, like, our leadership is really leaning in heavily with AI. And so I think it really helps the company because everyone who is working there, they know that this is the direction. They know the leadership at the highest levels are plugged in. And so we know that, hey, we got to make sure that we are plugged in. So that's the first thing. I think that the strong message from the top, and that a strong importance for AI adoption and AI literacy, because it's hard to adopt something if you don't understand it. So being able to give the teams the tools that they need and to be able to lead by example, like leaders being able to get out front and show how they're using it, encourage their team to use it. But it's kind of hard to encourage your team to use it if you're not using it, right?
If you're
So
not used,
yeah,
yes.
so you gotta kind of, with anything else with leadership, we gotta, walk the talk. And I would say also in leadership, making sure that we have lean on our human principles for these applications that we're building with AI.
Mm,
We
mm.
still need to have the human in the loop. So all the, like, for user experience, for example, all the principles we have for UX, we still need them for these AI capabilities that we're building, even more so now, right? We need to be empathetic, we need to be transparent. So I would say companies need to also, in addition to leading and using it, they also need to have their principles, that they have the principles that they're using for the capabilities that they're building as well for their customers. And their internal associates.
Yeah, I agree. And values,
Yeah,
company values
values.
and
Yeah.
leadership values
Yes.
are important more than ever. Yeah, I agree. What would be your advice to governments trying to figure it out on privacy and, ethical concerns?
Yeah.
What would you tell governments to focus on?
Yeah. We need legislation. Oh, like, I
Mhm.
don't know the specific answer and the specific legislation, but we need some type of legislation and regulations for AI. Like, right now, it's just the wild it's the wild, wild west, you know? So it's like, we do need some sort of regulation out there, and I feel like we need some standards for ethics for we need to make sure that AI is gonna be responsible.
To
So
level the playing field,
yeah,
right?
right, level the playing field. Yeah, it can't just be for a certain group of people. I would love for and I'm sure government would have some sort of influence on this, but how do we talk about how it impacts the environment, right? Like we're all using it, but just
Mm.
today I was in an AI session with my team, and so we were talking about how do we look at sustainability and all the water that's being used, all the tokens that's being used? Like, how do we balance that, right? Everyone's all in on AI, but what's the other part of it? All the money that's being spent, all the water that's being used, and I don't know what the answer is, and I'm probably the biggest offender of, using up all the tokens in the water because I'm using AI all the time. But it's like it's an interesting balance, because and I don't know what the answer is, but that again, we need some sort of government regulation, oversight, something that helps with that. And I don't know how to help with the cost or the environment, but
Yeah,
it's an important topic. Yeah.
you use the right words. It's a wild, wild west right now because I feel like that too myself. Every time I talk to my friends, I say, yes, everybody's doing their own thing. It's
Yeah.
like no one is telling them what's right or what's wrong.
Yeah.
And that's where the problems may come
Yeah.
in the future
Yeah.
if it doesn't exist regulations around the limit on
Yeah.
this thing,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
But let's see. Let's see where.
And you know what the interesting thing is? I think other countries may be farther along or have some different ways they're handling some of
Yes.
this.
Yes.
And so it's interesting to see 5 years from now, what is gonna be the difference as far as how they're
Between.
handling it and
Yeah.
the different like, are some of those other countries gonna be farther along with using AI to help with, cure cancer or other diseases or help with dementia patients? Like, I would love to see AI get to a point to where it's AI for good and it's
It's
helping
a
some
race.
things.
I also see this as a race. I was reading the other day an article where it was saying that China it's already mandating on schools that 5, 6 years old they start learning AI.
Yeah. And look at the difference there, right? Like where you have over in the US, like we're complaining about it taking a job. Over there, it's the half glass full, right? They're teaching at the earliest ages, because they know it's the future. They know that it's here, right? Not the future, but it's here. Yeah.
Like I always tell everyone, the outcome will be on what you focus your energy on.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah.
And that's always what it's everything about what you put your energy and you focus your energy
Yeah.
on. And if you're focusing on having your people to start learning AI, which
Yeah.
is the technology of the future,
Yeah. It goes back to that choice. It's the choice. Like, do
is the
we
choice.
Yeah, do we wanna we can't leave the AI if we don't learn the AI. That's something I've
There
been
you go.
saying for
That's
a
why I
while.
love this
Yeah.
phrase, Tiffany, right?
I so believe that. So I just hope that everyone kinda gets on board. But it's a choice, right? I know that it's a choice. So I try not to be on my soapbox too much, but I can't help it sometimes.
No. It's a choice, but listen to Tiffany, okay, guys? Please, it's important. We mean well.
Right. We're only trying to help.
Uh, and last but not least, Tiffany, what would be your advice to your younger self if you look back in the mirror
My
and
new
you find your younger self today and your younger self is actually also the future generations? What would you tell that future generation like if you were telling your younger self?
Yeah. I think I would tell my younger self not to sweat the small stuff. I think that I've been proud of, the path my life and career has taken. So I wouldn't change a thing because I believe everything we do kind of leads to something else, no matter even if it wasn't the right decision. I feel like everything leads to continues to help us. So, but I would say, yeah, definitely for my younger self, I would have told my younger self to not worry about certain things. Like, don't sweat the small stuff. Like, it's all going to work out. So
Yeah. Remain positive.
yes, remain positive. I think that is for me, I think that's the key is that your attitude about things and how you feel about the situation you're in, for me, that's always been a game changer. Like we can choose to be a victim in a situation or we can choose to, hey, this is it. I'm gonna make some changes and I'm gonna own my own destiny. For me, I think that's worked for me. Like I'm a person of faith, and so that to me has been what has driven me all this time.
Beautiful. We are going to see problems or opportunities.
Yes,
And
absolutely.
back to what we have been discussing today, it will continue to be our choice,
Yeah,
always.
yeah,
But when you see opportunities,
yeah,
you start knocking on doors and doors start opening. When you only focus on problems, that's all your energy will be focused on problems and not solutions.
that.
So I hope you guys enjoyed today's episode and conversation with the amazing Tiffany. Tiffany, it has been my pleasure to have you on the show. I really appreciated your time, your insights, and your humanity.
Thank you.
Really, thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
I
Okay.
enjoyed talking with you today. I appreciate you having me.
Awesome. Awesome. Thank you very much. And for those watching, if this has sparked something in you, share the episodes with your friends, with your family, with your loved ones. Subscribe wherever you listen and follow us along as we keep human at the center of the technology conversation. Remember that the code may change and the code will change and will continue to change, but our humanity is the constant. Technology shapes tomorrow, but our humanity defines it. So thank you all for watching. Until next time, this is the Human Protocol. Bye, everyone.